Hello, is it on here? Wanted to make another video. I recorded it just earlier, this video, but I don't think I got my point across properly, so I'm doing it again. Just why I don't like, or hate, in fact, I really dislike kind of feministy, kind of female-dominated office environments, right? Like the last place I worked, and the reason I don't like it is because, well, it's obvious, isn't it? With guys, like, men are different, like in I guess psychology, and what we value and what we prioritize, right, compared to women as a group. So when you're working, say, in the civil service like I was, and you notice that the department you're working in is structurally very feminist, right? So all the senior leadership team, well, at least 4 out of 5 of them, when I looked on the staff handbook, 4 out of 5 of them were women. The director of communications are women. The deputy directors are women. There are women all over the place. Like, it's apparently 55% women. It looks a hell of a lot more than that when you're there. And ethnic minorities, and and that's what it's like. You just see the ratio of male to female, and you realize that it's very much in the favor of the female, and that situation means that if you're not like in a senior enough role, I think at least it can be, at least for me, very easy to see the abuses that kind of women get away with. They really do get away with, like, outrageous things. And, it could be nothing. Like, for example, it's just the level of intolerance that you get from women as a man is just on another level in that kind of environment. Whereas, with men, even if there's a misunderstanding, generally, if you're both decent, it sort of gets worked out. It just kind of evaporates after a certain amount of time. If there happens to be a difference with a woman who decides she doesn't like you, it just lasts forever. It's never ending. And I think it's a lot to do with, like, the fact that they see that the power is so skewed in their favor that they just become brats, and knowingly brats. You're stuck in an office environment that's structurally feminist, and also the guys, they don't want to say anything. Obviously, they don't want to stick their neck out because they don't even want to criticize any women, or even question. You don't even have to criticize. You can just question any woman beneath them, which they should be able to do as a supervisor, right? They don't even do that because they see the ones above them are women, and they're not just women, they're radicalized women. They're girl boss women. They're women who believe that other women are above criticism for whatever reason, or whether they believe it or not, they certainly like that. And so it creates a class of people who you cannot criticize, or you cannot even question them. You can't even question them, because if you do even question them, you're basically, you're a misogynist in their eyes. And you can see that with other identity groups as well, whether it be gays or ethnics. Just questioning them means that it's because you hate them because of who they are. This whole thing when I was in the civil service, it's just unbelievable that it was only, like, I'd say 3 out of, I don't know how many were in that team that was on, was it 11, 12, 13, 14 maybe? 3 other women on there were just insufferable. And a lot of the guys didn't even seem to realize that they were, some of the guys, I think the older guys do realize, but the younger guys don't. They've imbibed all the crap, and they've sort of internalized, a sort of misandric kind of perspective, right? So, you can see girls, like, talking about disrespect in the office, and it can be over nothing. And the guys will say, you know, at worst, they'll say, oh, well, let's not assume the worst. I remember that exact thing happening where one of the girls was saying, oh, this man asked me to do some work and that's disrespectful. It was literally something along those lines, that because someone had asked her to do some work, she found it, I can't remember, it was basically another team had made a request, and she considered it disrespectful to her time. And she was told not to assume the worst, but she just pushed on with it. And she pushed on with it to this manager who was senior to her, simply because she knew that, you know, above him was a woman, and above that woman was another woman, and above that woman was another woman. And so it's structurally feminist. And so you're stuck in a girl boss environment, basically. And the girl bosses that are the most irritating, kind of radicalized, masculine, just carry on. They carry on with no pushback. And the men, as a result, are kind of, they kind of like, they never stick their neck out. So you can see stuff that's happening, or they can see stuff that's happening, but they don't want to like stick the neck out ever. So they adopt a radically neutral perspective, or radically neutral attitude, right? So you can say, well, no, this is not true, for example, you know, and show all the evidence. But if you're saying that about a woman who's, you know, that what she's saying or doing is untrue, the assumption will always be that you must have said something at some point to annoy her, and therefore that's why there's a problem. So the fault is always yours, right? It's like, I thought about this example. Like you could show a video of, say, a black guy murdering a white guy, and these civil servants will go, oh, well, the white guy must have said something. You know, that's basically, that's the level, you know. It's like, he's been murdered, all right? He's been killed by the black guy. And you're telling me that the white guy's racist. It's probably because the white guy did something racist. It's so internalized, the excuse making for these groups, women and ethnics, that they become a political class where they dominate. So their word is basically the law. You know, if they decide to say a bunch of BS, they can get away with it. And that is the situation. Was the situation in my last job, is that people can just say whatever they like, and not a single person. It can be ridiculous. It can be really ridiculous. You can point it out and say, this is ridiculous. Look how nonsensical this is. Look, she's saying, oh, you know, she's talking complete crap. Like, oh, you said this. You said, I don't even want to talk about the example. And it can be so minor. It can be so petty. And they won't question it because it's like, oh, well, maybe you said it in a way that was offensive. No, man. Just look at it. Here. You can even present it with a screenshot. There's no tone to this, okay? It's just black and white text. She says she's offended by that. You telling me that's offensive? Come on. And it's just like, you can just flip a switch with these women in the office, and it's over. And like, they'll never say good morning to you ever again. Like, there's one girl, I think early on in this civil service, who I was speaking to. I think it was an introductory meeting, you know, in the office when you came to know people, and I'd barely spoken to her. I don't think I'd spoken to her at all before that point. And she basically, it was fine at first, and then I could see I flipped a switch with her at the end of the conversation, where she was talking about, funnily enough, that she was in her last job, previous to the one she was in, you know, she was being bullied, or she was accused of being woke, right? And when she said that, I must have not sympathized, or must have smiled, or something like that, that maybe gave away that I didn't really sympathize. I don't know. But after that, it was over. It was over, man. She was sneering at me forever, from beginning to end, until I was kicked out of the job. You know, it's like, I was saying good morning to her and she wouldn't reply. I'd go up to her and ask her a question and she'd just be hostile in every possible way. And it's just like, you know, these women are just nightmares. You just don't want to be around them. And I don't know, if you're me and you had so many bad experiences with women, you just don't want to see them. You just don't want to be around them. You just don't want to risk it at all. You just don't want to deal with that kind of culture, that environment, this cult where everything you do or say can be used against you, and nothing you say you can throw all the evidence, have all the evidence in the world that supports your version of things, and no one will really ever consider it because they're just in a cult. These people are in a cult, and that's why I hate it. That's why I hate the girl boss office environment. And if you ever work in the civil service, more often than not, you'll be stuck in that environment. If you work in any kind of public sector job or any Western institution, it's going to be packed out with women, and that's what sucks about it. Yeah, so that's all I got to say about that. Yeah, thanks for watching.